Gaza death toll rises past 10,000, Palestinian Health Ministry says. Here's what else to know. More than 10,000 people have been killed in Gaza since Israel launched its military offensive a month ago. The Palestinian Ministry of Health in Ramallah said, drawing from sources in the Hamas-controlled enclave. Israel declared war on Hamas after the Islamist militant group launched a brutal attack on October 7, killing 1,400 in Israel and kidnapping more than 240. Israel retaliated by launching an air and ground offensive on Gaza, vowing to eliminate the militant group. The Israel Defense Forces, IDFA, said, Monday it has struck hundreds of Hamas targets and taken control of a military compound in Gaza over the past 24 hours. Inside the enclave, communication services are slowly being restored to some parts of Gaza after a weekend blackout. On average, about 30 trucks carrying humanitarian aid have been passing through the border each day, the Palestine Red Crescent Society in Ramallah said. However, this still does not include fuel supplies. Here's what else to know. Israeli offensive. The IDF said it hit more than 450 Hamas targets and captured additional territory inside Gaza in the last day, including a military compound. IDF spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner said forces are moving toward Gaza City. Another spokesperson, Rear Adm. Daniel Hagari, said Sunday that Israeli troops have split Gaza into two territories, north and south. Control of Gaza. Israel will have the overall security responsibility in Gaza for an indefinite period after the war ends, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claimed in an interview with ABC News. The Prime Minister also repeated that Israel will not allow a general ceasefire until all hostages are released by Hamas. But he said he was open to short pauses. Death toll. More than 70% of those killed in Gaza during the past month were children, women and the elderly, while some 24,000 people have been injured, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Ramallah. Unrelief Chief Martin Griffiths said the death toll defies humanity. Gaza left alone as hospitals run out of fuel. A spokesperson for the Palestine Red Crescent Society, YTRCI, says Gaza has been left alone to deal with an unprecedented humanitarian crisis, as 16 hospitals out of 35 hospitals are out of service and more running out of fuel. The international community must allow the entry of non-stop humanitarian aid in Gaza, including fuel, Nabal Farsak told Al Jazeera. Yet, the PRCs, which runs Al-Quds Hospital, said the facility is operating despite a grave shortage of medicines and fuel. No aid has been allowed to enter the northern part of the Strip, while only a limited amount has reached the south. So far, Israel has opposed the entry of any fuel in Gaza, which is needed to power hospital generators as well as ambulances and aid trucks. Fuel means life now, Farsak said. We are hours from a complete shutdown of all hospitals. Armed drones shot down over Iraqi airport housing us forces. 3 armed drones have been shot down over Erbil Airport in northern Iraq, where US forces and other international troops are stationed. The facility was targeted in 2 separate attacks. Iraqi Kurdistan's counter-terrorism service said in a statement. The defense system at the military base near the airport successfully brought the drones down. There were no casualties or damage to infrastructure, a QS military official said. It was not immediately clear who was responsible for the drone strikes, the latest in a series on US troops in Iraq and Syria as tensions soar in the Middle East over the war in Gaza. Israeli Defense Minister says army will secure freedom of action in Gaza post-war. Yoav Gallant says that at the end of the war, the Israeli army will have full freedom of action in Gaza without limitations on operations. Speaking at a special session of the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, the Israeli Defense Minister added, "The security system under my leadership is focused on 2 key things: victory in the war and returning the hostages." His comments come after Netanyahu said in an interview with ABC News on Monday that Israel would take responsibility for security in Gaza for an indefinite period. Gaza official. Israel orders evacuation of Al-Rantisi Children's Hospital. A Gaza Health Ministry spokesman tells Al Jazeera the Israeli army told the administration of Al-Rantisi Children's Hospital to evacuate because it intends to bomb the facility. There was no immediate Israeli response to the accusation. The ministry also gave the following details. About 70 kids are estimated to be at Al-Rantisi Hospital. The facility is sheltering 1,000 displaced people in northern Gaza. A number of patients are not stable enough to be transferred. Al-Rantisi is a US-funded hospital that houses Gaza's only pediatric cancer ward. The kids' cancer ward was hit by an Israeli airstrike on Monday. A Palestinian journalist killed in Israeli strikes on Gaza City. Palestine's news agency, Wafa, has said that Muhammad Abu Hasira, a journalist, was killed along with 42 family members, including his sons and brothers, after Israel bombed their homes in Gaza City. Wafa also reported that another journalist, Muhammad Hamouda, was wounded a few days ago alongside his wife, who lost her left eye, and 22-year-old son, Ahmed, whose leg had to be amputated. As of Monday, the US-based Watchdog Committee to Protect Journalists, IPJ, said at least 37 journalists and media workers had been killed and 8 injured since the start of the conflict. Death of man at La Rally is a warning. Israeli War Cabinet member Benny Gantz says the death of Jewish-American Paul Kessler, who died at dueling pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian rallies in Los Angeles, should serve as a stark warning sign to the whole world. Israel stands today at the forefront of the global fight against the murderous anti-Semitic ideology behind the Hamas terror attacks of 7.10. I call on world leaders and the international community to be unequivocal and proactive in their condemnation of terror and anti-Semitism, Gantz wrote on the social media platform X. Paramedics responded to a fight in progress, the Los Angeles Times reports. US police described the incident as a homicide and said they haven't ruled out that a hate crime took place. Kessler, 69, fell to the ground, struck his head, and died during the altercation. No charges were made as of late Monday. Israeli army says troops took hold of Hamas stronghold in northern Gaza. The Israeli army says over the past day, its soldiers took control of a Hamas stronghold in the northern Gaza Strip. According to a statement on Telegram, the army wrote, in coordination with soldiers on the ground, an Israeli army fighter jet struck a cell of approximately 10 terrorists. Furthermore, Israeli troops located a number of Hamas terrorists who barricaded themselves in a building adjacent to the Al-Quds hospital and planned to carry out an attack on the forces there. The army added that due to significant secondary explosions, it signaled that a Hamas weapons depot was in the area. It was not possible to independently verify the Israeli army's claims. Hamas has accused Israel of spreading lies about hospitals in Gaza and has called on the UN to visit medical facilities and determine the truth. Humanitarian tragedy of colossal proportions. Israel's actions in Gaza have been termed by the UN Agency for Palestine Refugees as forced displacement and humanitarian tragedy of colossal proportions. In a tweet, the UNRWA adds that, for 1 month, people across Gaza Strip have been denied aid, killed and bombed out of their homes. Earlier, Gaza officials said 6 children and 5 women are killed every hour on average in Gaza, and almost 70% of Gaza's population has been forcibly displaced from their homes due to Israeli bombing and raids. Mo, what's the Israel-Palestine conflict about? The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has claimed tens of thousands of lives and displaced many millions of people, and has its roots in a colonial act carried out more than a century ago. With Israel declaring war on the Gaza Strip after an unprecedented attack by the armed Palestinian group Hamas, the world's eyes are again sharply focused on what might come next. For decades, Western media outlets, academics, military experts and world leaders have described the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as intractable, complicated and deadlocked. Russia says Israeli nuclear remark raises questions. Russia's foreign ministry says a remark by an Israeli junior minister who expressed openness to the idea of Israel carrying out a nuclear strike on Gaza has raised a number of questions. Maria Zakharova, Russia's foreign ministry spokesperson, was quoted by state news agency RIA Novosti as saying that the main issue was that Israel appeared to have admitted that it had nuclear warheads. If so, Zakharova said, the UN's nuclear watchdog and international inspectors should be on the ground. Israel does not publicly acknowledge it has nuclear weapons, though the Federation of American Scientists estimates Israel has about 90 nuclear warheads. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian on Monday had called for the UN Security Council and the UN's nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency, to take immediate and uninterrupted action to disarm this barbaric and apartheid regime. Palestinian woman shot and injured by Israeli forces. We are getting news from our correspondents on the ground that Israeli forces have shot and wounded a Palestinian woman at the Qandiya checkpoint between Ramallah and occupied East Jerusalem this morning. Israeli police said that the woman arrived at the crossing wrapped in a Hamas flag. The suspect arrived on foot at the crossing armed with a knife and walked towards security guards. Forces quickly responded by shooting at her and neutralizing her, it added. We'll bring you more on this and other developments from the ground, including reports of fighting in the Jenin refugee camp, soon.